Here we go. Welcome to the Transform with Travel podcast, where we share stories of personal transformation and life lessons through our experiences of traveling and exploring the world. Travel is the ultimate accelerator for personal growth, and it can be the root catalyst for the pivots and plot twists we make in our lives. I'm your host, Kelly Tolliday, and it's my mission to inspire you to live life to its fullest, travel with an open mind and heart, and let the world show you a new perspective. I'm so grateful you're here with us today, so let's dive right in. Happy exploring. Welcome to the Transform with Travel podcast. I'm so grateful to have you here and to be joining us and share your story with our audience, with our community. Everyone here listening, I've got Wendy here. She is a South Florida wardrobe stylist, helping women revamp their image and self-confidence. Wendy's passion led her to attend Florida State University, which I went to as well, so I was excited to see that, where she earned her degree in fashion merchandising. Wendy has worked in multiple retailers, learning all aspects of leading a team, building and establishing clientele. Her main passion is building the confidence in her clients through image, and not just putting on an outfit, but how to style it and make it work for their current lifestyle. And I really got a lot out of reading your about section in your on your website and just seeing how much it is so true, like how much better you feel when you take the time into your own style. And that saying, like, when you look good, you feel good. Like, I can certainly attest to that. So I'd love to just first just welcome you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your time, and just share a little bit like your origin story for fashion, and a little bit about your background, what Florida State and what led you here to this moment. You know?
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This is such an honor. So my passion for fashion really comes from a little girl. Like, I've always, being a girl, you have a little girl of your own, playing dress up. So even through college, when I went to the merchandising school, it was a part of me that I always wanted to own my boutique store. But then I realized that I really wanted to focus a lot with one-on-one clientele. So through my internship process, I had an opportunity to work for Dillard's in the buying office. That did not go so well. Yeah. I was like, I'm not a desk person. I need to be one-on-one. So then again, it made me rethink how I wanted to go through my career. So I had the opportunity to work for Dillard's. At 22 years old, I was running 2 department stores.
Wow.
So I had about 30 employees under me.
And where was this? This was in Tallahassee?
Was in Tallahassee.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly.
Yep, at the Governor's Square
Yes,
Mall.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I was running 2 department stores, not really knowing where, or how to go about. But it was a really great program. So Dillard's really opened a lot of doors for me. And not only in the fashion, but also knowing how to run a business. So I was able to work one-on-one with clients. I was able to build up a team. So then from there, I kind of just developed in working with different retailers. So I went from Dillard's, then I worked for Ann Taylor. So not so much a big box, but to a specialty store. Then I worked for Gap. I worked for Banana Republic.
Wow.
I worked for J. Crew. At the end, I ended up being a district manager. But during my height of the career, my then boyfriend, we got engaged and we got offered to be moved to Luxembourg.
So for his job.
For his job.
Okay.
So I had to put my job on hold, my career on hold. He's an attorney, so he had a really big opportunity to go to Luxembourg. So we were there for 4 years. I tried to get a job there, but the language barrier was a big change for me. So anything that I was trying to apply for, I was just denied because I didn't know French. I didn't know Luxembourgish. The only thing I was really able to offer was my expertise, but then English, right? Yeah. So 4 years of me being abroad really made me think about a lot, like where I wanted to end up when that day would come when we would come back to the States. So fast forward 4.5 years later, I had my firstborn in Luxembourg. We ended up moving back to South Florida. And, it was a really tough time for both of us because trying to really figure out where my husband was also in transition with his work. So I started really researching what is a personal stylist, and if this is even a need in South Florida. Because when we think about wardrobe stylist or fashion stylist, there's this persona that people say it's only for the rich, it's only for the celebrities, and it's really not. Like any women or anybody can really get into hire a personal stylist because it's an investment. So when I was doing the research, I saw that there was a few companies, but really it didn't really focus so much on women individually. So I took the leap of faith and I opened up my business, and it took probably about 6 to 8 months to really establish a good idea of who the clientele I wanted to be. And I got my first client, and that was such an amazing experience. And, as a business owner yourself, there's a lot of things that you learned from when you take on the first job, and you just evolve from there. So I'm in my 3rd year. It's not full time. It is still part time for me because I still have 2 little kids at home. So they are my main priority. But it's been a blessing the past 3 years. And it's just every year just keeps getting better.
Yeah. And that's all you can ask for as a business owner, right? Just keep learning and keep moving forward. There's a lot, actually. I want to ask about that story. What was kind of going through your head when you got the job offer? Like, were you always into international travel, or was that your first time to Europe? Like, what was going through your head when you had the opportunity to move there? Was there any fear, or had you been there before? Like, I'd love to just dive into the mindset of that.
So my husband and I, we travel a lot. Since the first time we met, our first trip was to Argentina 6 months into us dating. So us traveling that didn't bring any fear to me. What did bring me fear was not knowing anyone. Because you go on vacation, you're only there for 2 weeks. You're there for a week, whatever it is. And you always come back to your home, your home base, what you're comfortable with. So we've never been to Luxembourg. So for me, I was scared of arriving to a country that I did not know anyone. Out of all his colleagues, we were going to be one of the youngest families without kids. So that also put a lot of fear and the unknown, right? Not knowing what's going to happen. And when we moved to Luxembourg, there was somebody that told me, well, give yourself 6 months and you'll probably see that you're going to want to move back. And that comment easily could have been, it could have stayed with me, and it brought me even more of, okay, I really don't want to be here anymore. But no, it kind of was a challenge. I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to make this work.
Yeah.
I obviously couldn't get a job, but I put myself out there. I are you familiar with Make-A-Wish?
Yeah.
So there's a Make-A-Wish chapter.
Okay.
It's no longer in Luxembourg, but at the time it had just launched, and I offered if I could volunteer. So I was volunteering for Make-A-Wish of Luxembourg for about 3 years.
Wow.
And I did a lot of wishes there. I then ended up being one of their co-shares for their galas that we would raise about 30 to 40,000 euros a year.
Wow.
Where these funds would be then granted to the kids.
Amazing.
So all of this was my time. But again, that one person that told me, just give yourself 6 months and you'll see you're going to want to go back home. I was like, yeah, no, I'm all up for a challenge.
Yeah.
And I knew it was a great opportunity for my husband. So why not,
Yeah, totally. And yes, you couldn't get a job, I guess monetarily compensated, but you were able to utilize your talents and your strengths and your passions to make potentially even a broader impact in that community. And I can totally understand being concerned or feeling fear around not having that community support, especially as you were embarking on that journey of potentially having kids in the next few years and not knowing what that support would look like. Going back to kind of not being able to get a job in fashion in Luxembourg, what did you, even though you couldn't quite get that job, I'm sure being in Europe shaped your style sense or just shaped your fashion in some way? Like, what did you learn about the fashion industry just by being there and observing?
So it goes back to helping women revamp their image because a lot of the families that we were around were just new moms. So feeling how to go back to that. And I saw a lot of that. Like I surrounded myself with a lot of new moms and they just felt overwhelmed, or the comment would be, I don't have anything to wear, or my husband has a business dinner and I have to go shopping. And in Luxembourg, there isn't a big shopping industry. So we're limited to one mall, a few boutiques. Well, at the time, I'm sure it's different right now. But at the time, there wasn't a lot of places to shop. So it was either online. Amazon had just started in Luxembourg. So it's not like that click of, okay, I'm going to buy this dress and it's here within the next day. That was very limited as well. So I also took that into consideration when, just looking at that, just being around all these beautiful women, but they always seem to struggle with, what do I have to wear?
You have to get creative when you had limited options there. So you mentioned that you had your first son in Luxembourg, and then you also have a second son who you had here in South Florida. What was that pregnancy, birth, postpartum experience like for you, Europe versus here? That wasn't one of the pre-written questions, but as I said, we just flow with it. So.
It was a big change.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you probably experienced this when you first get pregnant, you are excited about bringing this beautiful child into this world. I put a lot of trust in my medical providers. So I thought everything was great. I was really ready post baby. So I had everything that I wanted set up, but I didn't give too much consideration what I wanted my birth to look like.
Okay.
So
because it's usually the opposite. Usually people are like so obsessed with their birth plan, but they don't give two thoughts about what the postpartum is going to be like.
No, I wasn't like that.
You're the opposite.
I was the opposite. I don't know. I guess I trusted and it's not that they did anything wrong. It was great. The pregnancy was great. All the doctor's appointments were great, but I just felt like I was in great hands. And when we talked about the birth plan, I was like, okay, yeah, we'll just kind of go with the flow and we'll see what happens. All I knew I wanted is a natural birth. That's all I kept saying. I wanted a natural birth. I don't want an epidural, but there weren't any further talks or education around that.
Right.
So birth came, and my birth, so Bryce is my firstborn. I was in labor for like 18 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. I was induced at 38 weeks. I probably could have pushed back on being induced, but my doctor at the time, when I went to go get checked up, she checked me and she said, Wendy, you're having this baby tonight or tomorrow. And I was like, why? She's like, well, your fluid is too low and there's just no way that this baby can survive. So we need to get you into the hospital today. I was like, okay. Again, there wasn't any pushback. I just went with what she said. I'm sure it was accurate, but if I would have known what I know today, I think there could have been other questions I could have asked differently. Right. So anyhow, we went through the labor process, and that was intense. It was very intense. I just remember the facility. There were nurses just changing in and out. I was really stressed. So I'm sure like all of that just didn't really help me.
So the hospital in Luxembourg just had like a rotating staff of people coming in and out. So you didn't really, at least my experience here in South Florida was at least for like 7-8 hours, you'd have the same nurse. And then
it felt like every 4 hours.
Yeah.
There was like a new face.
Interesting.
And then a new person introducing themselves in Luxembourgish. But then I would have to remind them, I don't speak the language. I speak English, please.
Right.
So that was a lot. And then Bryce was born. And that was great. So yeah, after that, everything was fine. 4 years later, I have my son Aiden here. As soon as I knew that I was pregnant, I hired a doula. And she was with me through my entire process of pregnancy. And I told her that I definitely want a natural birth. So, and I forgot to mention with Bryce, at the last minute, I ended up getting an epidural because I had two options. It was either going to an emergency C-section or last minute epidural. And I didn't want a C-section, so we went with that. I don't even really think it helped. But the only thing I do remember from that birth with Bryce is, and this was my experience, is that I just felt like I was not in control of my body. And I told myself after, right, that if I ever do become pregnant again and have a child, I don't want to have that feeling. I want to be in control of my own body.
Right.
So with Aiden and talking with our doula, I told her I want to have a natural birth. I told her about my birth experience with Bryce, and she recommended hypnobirthing. And I was like, oh, what is that? And so she recommended the book, the hypnobirthing book. My husband and I read it. I was all for it. And I was like, this is what I want to do. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I was in labor with Aiden for like less than 4 hours.
Wow.
And it was a beautiful birth. They were both beautiful, but with Aiden, there was moments that I fell asleep while I was in labor because that's how calm I was.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
Do you think, and granted, this could just be a time, like there was just 5 years ago, there wasn't as much talk of doula support, but do you think the culture of Luxembourg versus South Florida was different in terms of accepting of having that doula support? You would say yes.
Yes. Because even at that time, I remember there were talks about doulas in Luxembourg, but they were not allowing them. And it was a process
Interesting.
to have them. So I'm sure it's different now. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know about hypnobirthing. Doula came up probably when I was 8 months, towards the end of my pregnancy. And when I talked to the hospital about it, they said, oh, no, that's not possible. Like, it's only you and your husband.
Right.
You can't have another person in the room.
So interesting.
So the culture, yes, it's different.
Gotcha. So cool. And also you had Aiden during the pandemic. So that's a whole different conversation. That's a whole different conversation.
That's another conversation.
But
so did you.
Whole nother. Yeah, started. Yeah. So my daughter, Layla, and your youngest son, Aiden, are in the same birthday, actually. They were both turning 3 soon. And then I guess because we met during a mommy and me class, we also were in the same mom community in the same suburb here in South Florida, but we also met at a mommy and me class, which is known to build community support and friendship. I guess speaking of that, like postpartum support, like did you have family come visit? Did you have, a postpartum doula? Like what did you have in Luxembourg? Like what did that look like for you postpartum wise? Because the pandemic was my first postpartum experience, and I would consider it to be fairly isolating just because there wasn't a lot of those mommy and me groups happening or park meetups or whatever. So what was that like for you having your baby and the support that you had afterwards in Luxembourg?
Mm-hmm. So like I said, my post-baby plan was great. Mm-hmm. I had my mom, my in-laws came.
Oh, amazing.
So there was a lot of support. I had a lot of great friends that did help me afterwards as well. My husband was great as well, but I never felt like I was alone. It didn't hit me, though, till about 5 or 6 months later that my husband was, again, going through transition into work. And at that point, I also felt like I was starting to get lonely. And that's when we decided to move back. So we moved back to the States when Bryce was 8 months.
Okay.
So the process to moving back started when Bryce was about 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, because it's a process moving, man.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
But luckily everything turned out great.
Yeah, awesome. So. Amazing. So with your passion for fashion and also your passion for traveling and just seeing the world, one of the services that you offer is helping people pack and almost packing like a travel outfit. What's the word? Capsule, like almost like, correct. Right? Like packing efficiently, packing stylishly, packing in a way that suits the weather, what you're going to be doing activity wise. You're not like just bringing a random item just to bring it. Like it actually, everything is making sense. How did that service come to be? Because like you said, a lot of people just think personal stylist, oh, that's for the rich and famous or the celebrities, when in actuality, it's for the everyday person. And a lot of people in a lot of travel groups, Facebook groups that I'm in say, how does anybody pack more than a 50-pound bag? I don't understand. Like I have to bring 2 suitcases. And so it is really for the everyday person who just wants to pack efficiently, but also pack with style and feel confident on their trip. How did that service come about for you?
So again, evolving my business, it was last year I had a client that was traveling and so it was something I thought about, but at the moment I was just doing closet edits. I was just doing personal shopping. But she asked me if I would be willing to just put outfits together for her. And because she was going to the Caribbean for a week. And so I was like, yeah, I mean, it's really what we're doing now, but I will just put it together for you. I'll pack it for you. And that's it. And then I have an app. It's a digital lookbook that all my clients get. So what I do is I photograph the outfit and then I upload it to this app, and it's very accessible to them. So it's easy to navigate. And
so like even while they're traveling, they can open it up. Yeah,
exactly.
That's awesome.
It's an app on their phone. They just open it and they just can go to whatever category they're looking at, and it's there at their fingertips. So from there, yeah, it's just a service that I was like, oh, this is really beneficial for many, like you said, and it just went from there.
Yeah.
So now I've had probably a good 6 to 7 clients that utilize that service. And I really prefer having a client that I've already worked in their closet as opposed to starting from fresh. Because again, I don't like just taking people's money. Like I would rather know what your current lifestyle is at, what type of wardrobe you have, as opposed to like you just hire me and I'm like, okay, well, I kind of need to go a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to travel, because I don't know if you do this, but many women, they're like, okay, we're going away for 7 days, and here they are bringing their big suitcases.
Exactly.
They're just bringing dresses and tops and not really knowing or thinking through your agenda or your itinerary. And then you're left with 10 pairs of shoes and then extra pieces that you're probably end up.
Yeah. Like nothing makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you're just like, you open your bag and you're just stressed because there's just crap everywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So I love that idea of like just packing efficiently and like optimally. So it's not just about, okay, I'll just pack 1 pair of black leggings and 1 shirt and, we'll mix match the leggings. Like you're actually looking at it from a style perspective too. So what would you say? I know it totally depends on where someone's going. Like a trip to Jamaica is going to be different to a trip to Norway and what you would pack. But in terms of like staples for a trip, let's say you're going to Europe for 2 weeks in the summer. What are some of your like fashion outfit staples that you would say are key to bringing with you?
So definitely a good pair of sneakers. Sneakers that are versatile though. Something that you can work out in and then also walking around. I would always flats, good pair of walking shoes. So not sandals, but good pair of just like closed-toe shoes that you can easily dress down, dress up as needed. I would bring 1 pair of nice jacket and then a really nice dress. So something that you can as well dress up or you can dress it down.
Right. Yeah.
And then I had this question asked the other day about a client. Well, should I bring jeans? And I was like, it just really depends. Because again, jeans, I would say could be a staple, but it depends on the climate that you're going to. So if you're going to Europe, for example, over the summer, the likelihood of you wearing jeans is probably slim.
Yeah. Like a nice long dress might be
a
better option.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because you can dress it up or dress it down. Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
See, I'm definitely guilty of just like the leggings and the shirt and, just throwing things together.
Right.
But I do love the idea of like taking a look at your itinerary, seeing what you're doing every day and just being really efficient of like, okay, you can wear this 3 different ways. You can wear this 3 different ways. Do you have access to a washing machine? Do you have access?
Correct.
I remember we were in Ireland for 2 or 3 weeks in last summer in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And right next door to where we were staying in Dublin, there was like a 24-hour drop off your laundry, get it back within the next day. And I was like, this is perfect. Like, we don't need to bring an outfit for every day.
Correct.
We can just find somewhere to get your clothes washed. Or if you're in an Airbnb, maybe you have a washing machine there.
Right. Yeah. And that's a great point too. I always recommend as well, if you are traveling more than 2 weeks, plan to pack for like a week and a half. So that way you're constantly just changing your clothing, and if you have access to a laundry service, then it makes life so much easier.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you travel with kids.
Yes. So this past summer, I'm sure we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, no, let's go for it. Let's do it.
Everybody was very surprised how we packed. So we were away. So we took 2 big trips, but our main trip was 6 weeks. And so it's my husband and I and our 2 kids. And we did 4 carry-ons, 2 bags, 2 duffel bags, medium size, and 2 backpacks. And that's it.
Wow. And were the duffel bags checked, or were the
everything was carry-on.
Wow. Okay. Let's dive into that. I love that.
Everything was carry-on. Now on the way back though, we did buy a luggage and checked that big luggage
the whole way through. Yeah.
Because we ended up, just souvenirs.
Of course.
And just extra stuff we ended up
But I
getting.
do think actually that's something I think is so important is you can do that. You can just buy a suitcase. It doesn't have to be a very expensive suitcase. You can buy a suitcase and on the way home, then bring it back. Me and my husband did that all the time when we were in Asia. We'd pack a small backpack and then we'd know, okay, when we get to the stage that we're buying a lot of souvenirs, because that's important. It's an important part of the process is getting little treasures to bring back home. But then you're maybe not buying that scarf or getting, the beautiful leather bag from Italy because you're worried you won't fit it. And that's okay to buy a bag while you're there and bring it home. Or you can even ship things. I remember we got to the stage in Thailand where we're we have too much stuff. And we just bought a box, put our stuff in it, taped it together, shipped it back home to Australia. And that was fine.
And there's even services out there, companies that will pick up your luggage at your destination and you'll see it a few weeks later.
Yeah.
So there are other means and other ways to make your life easier.
Totally. Okay. So back to the 4 carry-ons, please. So you each had a backpack, you each had a carry-on, and you had 2 duffel bags.
Not each of us had. Well, yeah. So my little one had his backpack.
I mean, which is just toys and snacks. Yeah.
And iPad and, just whatever.
Yeah.
But the 4 carry-ons was a big one.
Yeah.
Because so the way we traveled this past 6 weeks, we rented a car for 4 weeks of that. And we were going to travel through Italy. So if you're familiar with Italy, there's a lot of tiny towns. Mm-hmm. The streets are very narrow. And you can't really drive a big car. I mean, you can, but we just didn't want to risk it, especially with the 2 little ones. So we're we can't really bring a big suitcase then. So
you're actually limited,
We're limited to the 4 ones. So my biggest tip that I always give my clients, and this was something that I took away with me, is the packing cubes. So they sell them, everywhere, TJ Maxx, you can get them on Amazon, but every carry-on had them. And that's how we were able to maximize our space in these carry-ons. So each of us had our own carry-on, and that was it. Whatever you're able to pack in there, that was it.
And the packing cubes allow you to explain to someone how would you utilize the packing cube?
So the packing cubes, so it depends on the package, but there could be 4 or 5 of these. They're like bags, and there's some of them that can be compressed even further down once you have all your stuff in there. But what I always do with my clients is once we do your outfits, then you either roll them or fold them nicely, and then start putting them in these cubes. And so then that way you will really see a big difference on how much more space you will have by using these cubes.
Yeah. So we used packing cubes for the first time through Greece because I was just we have all these wires and cords for the monitors, and then we've got all the toiletries and the medicine and everything that you have to bring over the counter medicine and all the little girl socks and everything. And I was like, this is going to get wild after 3 weeks. So it's just on top of saving space, it's just the organization of knowing. And you can put all your dirty clothes in one of the bags. So it's right there.
Yeah.
So that's like a huge space saver, time saver, stress saver.
Of course.
So I love that. And you can get them anywhere. Amazon, Target, TJ
I
Maxx,
think
totally.
even Target sells them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're everywhere.
And you
now.
can put shoes in them, which are
Yes.
great.
Some of them come with like little
the shoe packs.
shoe packs, which I always recommend anyways, because you don't want to put your dirty shoes with your
on your clothes. Yeah.
So I always recommend to have those shoe bags.
Cool. What was that like 6 weeks? I know this isn't your first rodeo traveling with your kids, but 6 weeks driving in a little car through little towns in Italy with a 2.5-year-old. And how old is Bryce now? 5 now?
No, he's 7.
He's 7. Oh my gosh,
Just
7. Yes. So like, what was that like for you guys?
So, there was a lot of great moments, but there were a lot of challenging moments. So, I mean, the reality is, you have 2 kids and not every day is going to go perfect. So I think one of the questions you were going to ask is, what was one of your aha moments of traveling for the first time with your kids? And I think for me, it was this past summer, because we've done big trips like this. Actually, no, we've done trips, but not as big as this one. So in my eyes, I thought everything was going to go, every day we were going to have a plan. And I realized that halfway through our trip that we don't need to have a plan every day. It's okay to have a proposed itinerary, but it's also okay to just sit back and enjoy the moment, enjoy wherever you're at. So there were days that we had nothing planned, and my husband would have to work. I would take the kids, and it was just like, that was nice.
See where the day takes you.
Yeah.
I think it's so important with kids to give yourself like rest days almost. Like it's always important to have rest days in travel anyways, but just to have like half a morning to just do what you would normally do at home, maybe on a Saturday, like let's have like a slow breakfast, maybe like watch a little TV show, read a book together, like things that like you might do at home. So it's not so like go, because we can handle that, but maybe they can't. They need a little bit of like rest. And it's interesting to hear you say at 7 years old and 3 years old that it was challenging, because I have a almost 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And I'm like, when I have a 7 and a 5-year-old, it's going to be fine, But like I always hear from friends of mine with kids that are 7, 8, 9, 10, like the challenges are always there. You just have to learn how to navigate them or like regulate your own emotions, right? And it's like that. To think that you hit this like arbitrary age number and then traveling's going to be easy after that is just such a myth.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, it's, every stage is different.
It's challenging.
So I have 2 boys, and my boys are very active. And so my little one, Aiden, thinks he's 7.
Yeah.
And my 7-year-old thinks that Aiden is his age. So they're constantly battling each other, or they want to do the same things. But I also have to remind them, like, somebody's going to end up getting hurt if we're playing Power Rangers too rough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So those were the challenging moments that I had to be careful with, either Aiden or Bryce being too rough on one another. So
yeah, I kind of felt the same actually. We went to Greece this past summer, and everyone's like, wow, the photos look so amazing. I'm sure I texted you about your travels, like, wow, your travels look so amazing. And I've always very honest about my travels, because, it's just a highlight reel on social media. And so I said very openly on Instagram, like, look, this was a trip of the highest of highs. We had the best family time, but also like hands down the most challenging trip with my kids that we've taken so far. And I think everyone expects traveling to be just glorious and everything's going to be great, and your kids are just going to magically behave as if they behave every day at home, which they don't. Right. And so it's like you have to kind of give up that idea of perfection when you're traveling with kids. Absolutely. Even when you're traveling with yourself, like you have to, I'm sure when you and your husband go on trips on your own without kids, like you probably take the lessons that you've learned from being with your kids traveling.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah. Because I mean, no one's perfect. Life isn't perfect, and you kind of have to take it as as whatever presents to you that day. But yeah, I mean, it's not, like I said, we had a lot of great moments, but a lot of challenging and learning moments that we've had. I can tell you that Bryce and Aiden developed a really special bond this summer, though, because they both only had each other, right? So we're telling my 7-year-old, like, this is your buddy for the next 6 weeks. So figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, so they now, like yesterday, we were at the beach like half the day and they both just played so well together. Something that my husband and I kind of looked at that. It's like, I think it's because of this bond that we were together all summer. And so now they're just, it's a really special thing to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, like, in your opinion, traveling offers to your kids in terms of cultivating certain characteristics or just like whatever that helps build in them for seeing the world?
Confidence. Not also seeing that my kids, I would say, are very privileged.
Yeah.
So, you know, places that we visited aren't always easy to get access to certain things. So just an eye-opener for them. Many people may disagree with us, saying, like, you know, your kids are so young, they're not going to remember. I disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think it's not so much I want them to remember. I think they will come back more mature, more well-rounded. Culturally, they'll understand, you know, what's different. And the language, you know, like it's a beautiful thing to see when you travel with your kids.
Absolutely. It like makes the challenges worth it. And I know
absolutely
there's this reel going around of this mom, like, it's like Instagram, like, you know, but it's worth it. And then it's like behind the scenes, she's like ripping her suitcase apart, trying to find the one stuffed animal that the daughter was, it's like, she's like, it's not dark enough in here. She's not going to sleep.
Oh my
God.
And
on Instagram, but it's worth it.
So earlier in the summer, we took another trip, and my Aiden, he is still on a pacifier, which is a bad habit. I know we need to like break it off, but my goal was like after the summer, I was going to wean him off. And so right before we were coming back, we were in London. He went to the bathroom, and we call it the dummy. So his dummy fell in the toilet.
Oh my God.
And all I hear, Jeff said, it's like, babe, what do I do? I'm like, I don't know. It's done. And that's when I was like, okay, Aiden, we are done. There's no more. And so we came back from London, and he was okay. Like, he took it like a champ.
Yeah.
Those 2 weeks of us being here before embarking on our next 6-week travel, he did not have good night's sleeps. And I was like, okay, it's just a phase. He's going to get over it. I was trying to keep my foot down. Like, we're not going to buy another pacifier. Okay. And so we depart. Our first night in Paris. And luckily, something inside of me said, I need to buy a pacifier just in case. As
an emergency pacifier.
So I packed it. So the first 2 nights were miserable in Paris, and not only like, you know, jet lag and all that, but I looked at my husband. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. I give in.
Yeah.
I need him to sleep, and I need to sleep. So now we call it the dummy fairy comes after his bath, and he needs to be in his PJs, ready for bed, brush his teeth and everything. And dummy fairy magically comes, and, you know, then he immediately goes to sleep. And then when he wakes up, he'll even tell you now, he's like, dummy fairy coming? Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, buddy, dummy fairy's coming. So we need to take that pacifier out.
Yeah.
So that's my next thing that I need to work on.
But, yeah. And I feel like.
But that goes back to perfection.
Exactly.
Right? Like, not
exactly.
I had to make something work in that moment, and I just ran with it.
Yeah. And I honestly, that is traveling with kids, like 101 is it's literally like you have to do what you got to do. Like, some people are very, very strict about screen time at home, but as soon as those little feet land on that plane, here's your tablet, and that's what you do, right? And some people are strict about certain things, but as soon as they travel, it's like we just got to survive this. And like, if this is going to help you be calm in terms of the kid, like let the kid be calm, and then it helps the parent be calm, and everyone sleeps, and you got to do what you got to do. And that's honestly what it's like with traveling with kids, and you deal with the consequences later, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. I really loved what you said about it building confidence in kids, because I think it links back to like travel building confidence in kids. And confidence is a word that shows up a lot in your website for like helping moms, especially new moms, be confident in themselves. What is that like value of being confident in oneself? Like, where do you think that stems from for you? Because it definitely seems like something that's like aligned with throughout your whole life, like building confidence in my kids through traveling, helping other moms feel confident in their clothes. What does being confident feel like or look like for you?
Just feeling great. I mean, it goes back to when I wake up in the morning, I am very grateful. So with my 7-year-old, we do this like checklist routine. And one of the questions on the top, it says, "What are you grateful for today?"
Oh,
And that's how we start the day. Because again, it goes back to how you feel as a person. If you feel great, if you look like today, he was looking forward to piano lessons. So he's like, "That's what I'm grateful for." And I'm like, "That's great, buddy." Like today, I'm grateful for being here, being next to you. And that boosts my confidence. So it really stems back to, as a little girl, I really didn't have a lot of friends. And I'm very social. But I don't cling to a particular group. Like I'll bounce around.
mm-hmm.
And that's been my entire life. I kind of like bounce to different friends, and I'm okay with that, but I love that as years have gone by, and this is even as a mature adult, my confidence has gone through the roof even more, even after having kids. Because it goes back to how you feel inside. So you feel grateful. I have a really great family, very blessed. I'm surrounded by amazing friends. So that in itself will boost anybody's energy.
Yeah. That's such an interesting perspective on confidence equals like not just feeling good, looking good, all that, but like the confidence comes from that overflowing sense of gratitude for what you have in your life, and like knowing like, wow, I have enough. I have more than enough. I've got great friends. I've got this. My life is great.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's where that confidence is boosting from. Because I think a lot of people misinterpret confidence to just strutting your stuff down the hallway and looking, and looking good definitely helps you feel confident. But if you, at the end of the day, underneath all that, you still don't feel like you're enough as a person, you don't have enough to survive. That is just like false confidence. Whereas the true confidence is coming from knowing
inside,
I am enough. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, when I go to my clients' homes, when we do a closet edit, I at times walk away feeling like a therapist. Because,
totally.
It's a very vulnerable place for my clients to be. I'm walking into your closet. I'm walking into your household. And we are spending the next 4 to 5 hours together. And we will discuss a lot of things. We'll get to know each other. So at the end, a lot of my clients feel like it's a relief for them, because it's whether they've had so much built up. But it's good for them. It's good to hear that. And also I love seeing that in them. And not only is at the end of it, are they going to look good, but they feel like a relief that they've get off their shoulders.
Yeah. I love that. That's like such a beautiful transformations that your clients get to have, with you, and with being able to look at their closets with fresh eyes and be like, wow, actually I have some really kick-ass clothes in here. Yeah. Like I'm doing pretty good. And so like you said at the very beginning, like it's not just for celebrities and the rich and the famous. Like it's not just about the clothes that you're putting on. It's about like looking into the mirror and like loving the person that you see. And so it really feels like such a transformative service that you're offering on top of, I just love this travel capsule wardrobe service. Like is that something that you offer remotely? Like if someone were to say, hey, I'm listening in from California, I'd love to work with you remotely.
So I haven't done that yet. I'm sure we could. I do offer like Zoom consultations. So like I said, I would prefer doing it in person. and also getting to know the client. Like it's something that I offer to clients, to already existing clients.
Right.
But I mean, why not? We can always give it a try.
Yeah.
So
awesome. So the very, very last thing, I noticed that you had written earlier about a book.
Okay.
So you want to share a little bit about
the book that I would recommend?
Yeah.
Oh, the ultimate the book of styling. So I love that book.
Mm-hmm. What was the name of it again?
I think it's the ultimate book of getting dressed.
Okay, cool.
But it's not a book that I
no, I know.
Okay. No, it's if you are not ready to invest, right, in a personal stylist, and I would highly recommend this book because it really talks about the formula on how to create outfits.
Okay.
And it's something that anybody can do. The only, what I find most people hiring a personal stylist or a wardrobe consultant is because of the time, right? Like a lot of women just are really busy with everyday life and they just don't have the time to go shopping or organizing their closet, whatever that looks like. So that's where I come along. But if you do have the time to sit and just really focus on something else, I highly recommend this book.
Awesome.
Because it's a great way, like I said, it gives you formulas on how to create outfits, on what staples you should be looking for, and so forth. But it's available on Amazon.
Okay, yeah, I'll link to that in the show notes. I think people want formulas.
Yes.
A plus B equals C.
Exactly. So a jean, a white, looking tee, great. And then a pair. So there's a great formula in there that people would.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely share that in the show notes for sure. So I normally finish these episodes with quick, like rapid fire questions, and I don't share them ahead of time because I just want it to kind of like, pop into your head and see what happens. All right. So number one, if you could only go back to one country, town, or place in the world, where would it be and why?
Okay. I would say South Africa.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of the trips that we took this summer, and
with your kids?
With my kids.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we went. So my husband and I did our honeymoon in South Africa almost 10 years ago, and we took a lot from that trip, and we said one day we will come back, and 10 years later we did.
Wow.
So the reason why we went this year, it was my father-in-law's 80th birthday. And so he wanted to share that special moment with all of us.
Amazing.
So we went out to South Africa.
And your father-in-law lives there?
No.
You all went out.
We all went out.
Wow. Big family trip.
Yes. It was amazing. But that would be one, and there's so many places to go in South Africa. But doing a safari, it was just so special.
How did you find the safari with Aiden? I'm sure Bryce is old enough, but with I'm always like, I want to go, but I'm just nervous. Like,
it was amazing. I mean, he thrived. Both kids thrived.
That's awesome.
They, so the way we did it was a little different because everything was a little private. But if you do it the way we did it, I feel like you have a lot more flexibility. So usually there's 2 game drives, right? One early in the morning, then later in the evening. But these kids were up. It was easy for them. It's like they were looking forward to seeing the animals.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How cool. That's awesome. I love it. All right. Number 2. What's number 1 on your bucket list right now?
That's a good question. So I have a personal styling studio opening up. My husband and I bought a building a few years back. So we're in the midst of renovating it. And that is, I would say, both of our bucket lists right now. We just want to get it done with so he can get in there. And then I can also get in there and offer other stuff, services for my clients. That's
awesome. I love whenever I say bucket list, people automatically assume like somewhere to travel to or something to do. And I'm like, no, it can be anything. It could be family bucket list, business.
Well, it's a goal.
It's a goal. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that. Number 3, what's the biggest life lesson you've learned while traveling?
Life lesson. Don't get stressed. Don't get stressed because there will be a lot of moments that things just don't go your way. You just have to take a deep breath. And I did a lot of those. over the summer.
A lot of deep breaths.
A lot of deep breaths, yes.
Awesome. And number 4, give one piece of advice to an aspiring explorer.
Take the risk. Take the risk. So whether that means, you go to somewhere new, whether you have kids and you want to try traveling with kids, just take that risk and see where it takes you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd love to give you a little bit of space to share where people can find you, whether it's social media, website, anything upcoming that you want to share. Feel free.
Well, it's my Instagram account. So it's Antidote Styles. And then that's pretty much it. But you can also check out all my reviews on Google. I've been really happy with I think I have like up to 30 reviews right now, but they're all 5 stars.
Oh, wow.
So that's something that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, you should be. That's amazing. Awesome. I'll definitely be able to link to your website, to your social media. I'll link to the show notes to the book that we spoke about before and make sure to spread the message and people to be able to connect with you. But thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story. And I'm sure our listeners are going to get so much out of it.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Transform with Travel podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode of inspiration, adventure, and exploration. If you felt inspired by this episode, please rate and review in whatever streaming app you're listening from. This allows us to spread the word even more and continue to serve up weekly doses of adventure. As always, we'd love if you could share the episode with someone in your life who you think will benefit from this conversation. Thanks so much for listening. This is your reminder to get out there and keep on exploring.